gentlemen. My name is Mohadi Senyolo. I am based at the University of South Africa, UNISA. I'm head of the branch library, subject library at the Meklunek branch or Meklunek campus. And I'm also the National Secretary of the Library Information Association of South Africa, LIASA. So it is an honor and pleasure for me to run this program with you this afternoon. And I hope we are all connected and we are ready to hear more about today's webinar. To start with, we are living in a time of rapid technological change, as you are all aware. And this webinar is all about that. And in mind, we need to find out or learn more about what are the implications for libraries. Because we have so many new trends, and we can explore those trends, the predictions that we have, the tech innovations, while looking forward into the future to see what libraries will bring in the future or what libraries will look like in the future. With that given, I'm not going to be the one welcoming people or, introducing people for now. I would like to call upon Ms. Nambita. Nambita, I don't want to start pronouncing your surname because I thought I will, but I may lose it out. But if you don't mind, I'll just call you Nambita to please give us a welcome and introduction. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Ma'am Mohadi. My name is Nambita Mangola. I would like to greet everyone. Good morning, Mr. Nick, our guest speaker. It's in the morning in his side, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to greet you with a special greeting. That the theme that we are using as Emerging Librarian 2022-2023 slogan, embrace technology to enhance the LIS industry, future leaders. In those words, allow me to welcome to our seminar. The objective of this seminar is to welcome you to the modern era, a time that is defined by a rapid and relentless technological change. The pace that technology is revolving, reshaping the way we live, we work, we interact with the world around us. The ambiguity of smartphone to emergence of artificial intelligence, virtual reality innovation has become the fundamental part of our daily lives. That's how we navigate our daily lives. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce you to our speaker of the day, Mr. Tanzi. Mr. Tanzi, I'm not working alone in this portfolio. Let me firstly take a second or two to introduce my team. Yes, I'm the face of Emerging Librarian, but behind I'm working with bulldozers that I would like them to show their faces to you as I call their names. Frida van Wyk, can you show your face, please, as the leader of welcome and thank you very much. Anika, can you show your face, please?
I'm unable to show my face at the moment. I apologize. My connection is a bit bad.
It's understandable. Lola, can you show your face once more, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Thank you, Nambita.
Apelele.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Nambita.
And Dr. Matobako is with me. We are sharing a computer.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you.
That's the team that I'm working with to organize this Mr. Tanzi. That's the second that I borrowed to introduce them to you. Now, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Tanzi. Mr. Tanzi is Assistant Director of the South Hyukding Library. He is a national recognized library technology consultant, the author of the books, Making the Most of Digital Collection Through Training and Outreach, that was published in 2016. He is the co-author of Best Technologies of Libraries, Policies, Programs, and Services. It was published in 2020. Mr. Nick is a past column editor for the Public Library magazine, the Wired Library, and his work on intersection of libraries, technologies has been featured in the publication, including Computer Libraries, Library Journal, Marketing, Library Services. Mr. Tanzi is the blogger, and he's got a blog. And luckily for me, I am following him on LinkedIn. That's where we met. That's where I approach him. Today, we're going to give ear to you. Over to you, Mr. Tanzi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. It was great to meet the team, and thank you for organizing this. I'm going to do a quick screen share. So just confirm everybody can see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Always got to check. Okay, so today we're going to be talking a little bit best technologies for public libraries. Going to keep it moving too, because definitely there's some ground to cover and always want to leave time for questions and answers. But I think it's always important to ask ourselves, what does it take to be the best technology for a library? It's kind of a dramatic statement, right? When we say best technologies, what does that mean? And in truth, it can mean different things for different folks. Our libraries serve our communities vary. Here in New York, it's a very library-rich environment, but the libraries are so varied in their size and the communities they serve, in budget, all of those things. So I just want to take a minute and really quickly, when we talk about what makes a best technology, well, when a library adopts a technology, there's a few check boxes that really have to be checked. The first of which is technology has to align with the library's mission, right? If you look at your mission statement, if the reason for your library, if a technology is at odds with that, that's probably a good sign that it's not a good fit. Typically, our libraries have kind of these common themes of meeting the informational needs of our communities, the recreational needs, and in particular, those things change, right? The informational needs of our community change over time with technological change, and that's partially why we adopt new technologies, but always a good thing to make sure that it matches your library's mission. The other piece is we provide critical access to the public. Why do libraries have computers? Well, because a computer is an important way to access information. It's also a very necessary skill to have, right? Computer literacy is important. And technology oftentimes is expensive. It's the nature of these things. Not always, and we'll talk cost in a little bit. But when an individual is priced out of a technology, they don't have access, they can't learn it, they fall behind. And libraries can act as the great equalizer that when a library can maybe afford a thing before an individual can, that's our opportunity to deliver critical access. So as we talk about adopting technology, that's something to keep in mind. Oftentimes, when we hear about emerging technologies or technological change, the other term that comes along with that is disruption, technological disruption, societal disruption. And libraries can help navigate disruption by familiarizing our community with technology, with giving them information literacy, computer literacy. When a new technology comes out, it can upset the job market, people can lose their jobs, or they need to reskill. And that's why that critical access helps. That's why being able to provide accurate information as things change is so critical. So that's why we adopt technology. And then finally, we're going to look at a lot of neat technologies today. I hope they're neat. But we always need to consider that tech adoption needs to be needs-based. If you're ignoring critical needs of your community to kind of what we say sometimes is chasing a shiny object. You get something that's really expensive, you use a lot of your money on it, but you're neglecting some core responsibilities. That's not necessarily good either. And so we'll talk affordability as well, but it's always important to make sure that tech adoption aligns with the library's mission, that you're providing critical access, you're helping people navigate disruption, and that ultimately, as a whole, your services are needs-based, your technological adoption is needs-based. So unfortunately, the nature of technology is that it is often expensive. So how do we navigate expensive tech? Now, expensive is a relative term. Again, I've worked at libraries where they're quite well funded. I've worked at libraries that are struggling for money. So the term expensive means different things to different people. As I mentioned, you really need to find that sweet spot with technological adoption when you're acquiring a new technology is to look for where maybe the individual can't afford it, but the organization can. That's a great spot to grab something like, we see like a 3D printer or a computer that the individual can't have at home, but you're providing access to it because organizationally it's a little bit more affordable. The other part of navigating some expensive tech is to try to identify inexpensive entry points. We're going to be looking at things like virtual reality and augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and you can spend quite a bit of money on these things, but oftentimes, if you're thinking creatively, you can find a way to engage with these technologies without spending too much money. And finally, as much as possible, part of that imaginative, creative thinking is to reuse, to repurpose, recycle, to find devices that can't just do one thing, but can do many things, to upcycle maybe a piece of equipment that still has a little bit of life in it, or to repurpose something that you're no longer using. That can be equipment, that can be space. I'm going to start with a trend, and we're going to look at digital equity. And that's defined as a condition in which all individuals and communities have the information technology capacity for full participation in our society. That comes from a nonprofit organization in the United States. It's the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. And this is a moving target. Full participation, so having the technological capacity, the internet connection, the hardware, to be able to fully participate in society. Let's just think about how things have changed in the last few years. With the onset of COVID and the pandemic, that changed. When I talk like personally for me, what did I need to fully participate in society 5 years ago? I just need to be able to check email at home. In 2020 and 2021, my library was closed to the public. I was working remotely. My full participation in society required an internet connection and a computer that was capable of video chat. And I needed the bandwidth for me to work 7, 8 hours a day on the computer doing video. My wife had to do the same. My daughter, her school all of a sudden was virtual, and she needed a Chromebook, and she needed to be online a number of hours a day in video chat. And all of my shows were basically streaming services. So imagine how much more I needed. It wasn't just a matter of checking email on my phone anymore. My bandwidth needs went up, my computer needs, my hardware needs, my own child's needs, that all increased. And so that's where these things change. Now that's a segue into one of the trends we're seeing in libraries, which is how do we navigate this rapid virtualization? This is a pandemic accelerated change. And in my organization, we're trying to really navigate the rise of Zoom. Zoom is a challenge because you have lots of users coming into your libraries. They need the internet connection. They need the computer. They need video chat capability. But it stresses our space because they need quiet, but quiet for them. They want to talk, right? Just like I'm here, I'm talking. I want a quiet space, but quiet for me. That can be a real challenge in the physical layout of our buildings. It's also an IT challenge. We're needing to invest more in bandwidth and faster internet speeds because now, when many people are working, I say from home, but really they're in our building using our internet connection, where they're going to college virtually, that is, and everybody's entertainment now is a streaming service, that taxes my bandwidth, my IT infrastructure a lot. So that's something we're trying to do, trying to figure out. We have people that are conducting job interviews and they need to be able to do that remotely. This also leads into another trend we're seeing, at least here in the United States, which is a real move towards telehealth. Telehealth is a very good option, especially in rural America. Cities, typically everything's walking distance, where folks can visit you at home. As you get out in the country, distance, okay? It's not always, and there's not always options. There's not as many hospitals, there's not as many doctor's offices. Folks have a real need for telehealth to be able to visit and meet with a doctor remotely. Unfortunately, these same communities oftentimes lack internet access. There's not great access to broadband, high-speed internet. So many libraries now are investing in providing telehealth options, providing the hardware, providing the room to meet, and partnering with healthcare facilities. Just a couple options we're seeing: Pottsboro Area Library, that's in Texas. They actually have a purpose-built room with a separate entrance and a partnership with some healthcare facilities managing chronic illnesses, watching your blood pressure, managing diabetes, those types of things. We're also seeing libraries invest in remote options, things like in New Jersey, the Health Connect. They're providing iPads that they lend out, they come back, but they have telehealth apps on them, kind of preloaded. And then in Delaware, they're providing both the space and the devices. They have a Get Connected program where people are going, they're borrowing mobile devices, but separately, they can check into a kiosk. They can actually go into a private space to conduct telehealth visits. And they're roping in other social services, things like job counseling, things like social workers. So that's one of those things we're seeing now. Now, I talk about how can we do this affordably? And there are inexpensive entry points. One of the cheap, or cheap is a relative term too, right? But one of the more inexpensive ways and things that we see happening are repurposing existing space. Many of our libraries now are looking at, is that quiet study room getting a lot of use? If it's not difficult to repurpose it into a interview room or a Zoom room or a specific telehealth room. A little bit of soundproofing, and there's lots of options that can be done inexpensively. Internet connected computer with a webcam that can be wiped, right? And in terms of wiped, I mean like the memory, the history, the browsing history to maintain privacy. Those are things that aren't terribly expensive. Refitting existing equipment. If you have computers and they don't have video conferencing capability, webcams, they cost money, but they're not the most expensive option to suddenly add a whole new feature list to your computers. Another thing is, we've been moving outside with our libraries, out into, our garden area, out into a parking lot, because when the library closes, the internet access goes away. By adding a outdoor access point, now folks can use the library even after it's closed because we're projecting Wi-Fi out into the parking lot. That's a reasonably low cost but high reward thing. Some of our libraries had it where the internet turned off when the building closed, and we've made sure that we've extended those hours so that people can just pull into the parking lot and have that internet connection. A little more pricey, but something that is useful is adding solar charging stations so that when people come with their laptops, their mobile devices, they have a free source of power for those things. So that's something we've really done. And you can see that photo there is actually of our garden area. So that's an overall trend we're seeing towards virtualization and how you can accommodate that. Another big thing is augmented and virtual reality. Real quick, augmented reality, we're talking about when a virtual or artificial image is overlaid like the real world. So if I hold up my smartphone and I'm looking through the camera in my office is real, but if I'm playing like Pokemon Go, the little Pokemon that pop up, then it looks like they're on my desk, that's artificial. So it's the artificial layered over the real. Virtual reality, think of something more immersive. You have the headset on and everything you see is artificial. Now, one of the neat things we're seeing is virtual assistants navigating your physical space. And I'll go into that a little bit. And there's kind of two flavors here. There's the virtual reality experience and the augmented reality experience. But the idea behind this is empowering your patrons, letting them plan their visit, letting them explore your space in a virtual setting. We know that folks have trouble finding stuff on our shelves. We know that they have trouble navigating. That's a very common question, right? Where's the bathroom? How do I get out of here? How did I get in here? Where are the children's books? So the idea that you can empower your patrons a little more is an attractive one. In augmented reality, you can actually have the virtual overlaid your physical presence. I can have a virtual assistant guide me through my actual physical space. And we'll look at that in a moment. But that's in library use. It's excellent for wayfinding. And the future is one where we can actually add augmented reality metadata over the collection. Like I can pick up a book, I can scan the book with my glasses or my phone, and maybe a book trailer pops up, or maybe some other metadata virtually pops up. In virtual reality, that's where the user is home or elsewhere. They're not in my building, but they can tour my physical space remotely. I'm going to actually, there's a little tricky technique here, but I'm going to stop my screen share and do a new screen share so we can actually take a virtual tour of the South Huntington Public Library. So let me do that very quickly. And Nabita, if you want to just let me know you can see this virtual tour now. I just want to make sure I made the switch correctly here.
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So I'm going to go a little slow because it can be a little laggy over Zoom, but now you are in the South Huntington Public Library. And I am able to walk around the building. And again, if we weren't doing this over Zoom, it's a much smoother experience, but I just want to give you a sense of the capabilities here. You see, I can look around, and these circles are actually information panels where it can guide me. It can tell me what's here, where to go, how things work. So for the remote user, they can explore my space. And this was especially helpful during COVID. We had limits on how many people could enter a building at a time. We used to do large class visits, and I couldn't have a whole classroom coming through the building. But as a class, they could virtually tour my building, and then as individuals, they could come in and do a visit. So that was very helpful. Okay, so now I'm back to my PowerPoint, hopefully. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but you could see how I could walk around my entire building. I could take a tour, I could visit things, I could see what's out there. That's virtual reality. Now I'm going to show you an example of an augmented reality powered tour. This is actually a library in Northern Europe. I think there's a little bit of funky music. I apologize for that, but that's how they set it up.
After a complete renovation in 2014, the library now features 5 kilometers of shelving, containing 450,000 items in approximately 6,000 square meters distributed across 4 floors. To provide innovative wayfinding technology at the library, The Herning Library worked together with us at VR and set up Indoor for their augmented reality indoor navigation. Visitors can now use their own smartphone or tablet to be guided to specific sections, community areas and self-service stations across the library. This helps making their stay at the Herning Library more enjoyable and at the same time efficient. Would you like to set up?
So there, what we saw was an augmented reality powered visit. In that case, somebody was in a physical library with their smartphone and a virtual assistant guided them. So they would choose where they wanted to go, what they were trying to find. A little bit futuristic, but that's where the technology's headed. And in particular, as wearable tech, like smart glasses and the like, get cheaper and more available, you'll see more of that. So I can have fully virtual assistants where I am exploring a physical space remotely, or I can be in the actual library and have a virtual assistant guide me through a physical space. It's kind of two different looks there. The other really neat thing we're seeing now with virtual reality is job training. Now, libraries for a long time, we help with job training. We do things like help people with resumes, we help them reskill and learn new computer skills. We help them pursue their career goals and information. So this is something we've done for a while. But what I like about VR is it gives us the ability to bring the job training site to the library. Really neat examples. Clayton County Library in Georgia. This is a low-income community. There's a lot of folks below the poverty line. At the same time, there's a lot of high-paying jobs that were available in things like HVAC. An AC installation, in solar power, all of these industries, but there wasn't the skilled labor for that. So what Clayton County does is they actually provide VR training. They work with a company called Interplay Learning, and people get certifications in these industries through the library, and then they help connect them to county jobs or jobs within the community. So it's that next step where they're actually bringing kind of the workshop, the job training site into the library in a virtual sense. West Charleston Library, that's in Nevada. They're working with a youth hub. And basically what they've set up is teaching teenagers and young adults kind of job skills in the service industry via virtual reality. Now, part of it is virtual reality is neat, it's attractive, so people want to try it out. And then it helps address, there's a kind of underemployment among youths. So that's a new thing that VR can do, and it can do as expensive as VR can be. Bringing an entire workshop into a library is terribly expensive, right? We can't do automotive repair at the library. We're also seeing partnerships for VR and mental health. We know that there's certain ripple effects from the pandemic. A lot of pandemic isolation has had negative consequences on mental health, especially among youth. The cancellation of school, they lost that social element. We also have an aging population here, and there's things like dementia, mental decline that happens in older folks. Really neat program we're seeing is VRtality. And what I like about this is, and I'm going to be providing my slides at the end of this, so don't feel the need to take notes per se. I've provided links to a lot of this stuff. But VRtality is a collaborative effort among a few different libraries, University of Washington, Fayette, Seattle Public Library, DC Public Library, and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. That's part of the federal government here. And what they've been working on is actually designing or co-designing with library staff and library team patrons VR experiences that help address mental health. So people make really positive things. They make relaxing games using like Unity engine, where they'll make a gardening game and there's bird songs and it's bright and airy. Or there's one teen made a game where you walk around and you pet furry little animals. So it's meant to relax. The act of creation, aside from teaching people how to build in VR, helps address mental health. And then those creations are shared with other people as relaxing experiences. And Virtuality actually has a whole how to do it from equipment selection right until how to do curriculum. So that's a really neat thing that's repeatable. I also see VR as the future of music and memory. What we do, music and memory, in case you're unfamiliar, a lot of folks with Alzheimer's, for example, when they're exposed to music that they listen to, growing up, it tends to re-stimulate the brain. So some libraries do things like lend iPods preloaded with music of their generation to just help kind of bring them back. There's there's ongoing research about what VR can do because it's audio stimulus, but also visual stimulus. So a lot of libraries now work with, retirement communities, with assisted living facilities to bring VR experiences to senior populations, different experiences, take them on a trip if they can't leave the house, for example. Now, AR, VR, they can be expensive technologies. So what are some cost-cutting options? Well, for starters, AR tends to be cheaper than VR, augmented reality, in part because you can focus on mobile technology. A standard Android device, a smartphone, a tablet, an iPad, or a Apple phone, iPhone, they're augmented reality ready platforms. They can engage in augmented reality. If you want to invest in a single option that can do a lot of things, an iPad can do a lot of things. It can, experience augmented reality. AR also has the option to have people BYOD or bring your own device. And then you can provide peripheral devices or different experiences that they can engage in. You can curate augmented reality experiences. When we look at VR, all-in-one devices, those headsets like the Meta Quest, tend to be less expensive than if you have a very high-end computer and you have the HTC Vive, which is the whole, the wires and everything going into the headset. That's a powerful option, but it's more expensive. And you're going to want to focus on free or cost-effective software. Merge, that we'll see in a little bit, is a nice augmented reality option. They sell inexpensive headsets that are smartphone powered. They have a lot of augmented reality experiences that are apps that don't cost anything. A lot of companies, if you want to expose people to what augmented reality looks like, companies like IKEA that allow you to just see what augmented reality looks like. You can select furniture and see it in a physical space. These are good introductions. And for creative software, cospaces.edu. I'm not here to endorse products. I don't get any money from these folks, but cospaces.edu is a great, reasonably affordable desktop software. So you put it on a computer where you can build augmented reality experiences. It's used a lot in education. And these are just some of these inexpensive augmented reality options. On the left, here's a Merge Cube. Think of it as a QR code that you can hold in your hand. And you basically scan the cube with an app. And depending on the app you're using, it allows you to experience, it appends an experience, kind of sticks it onto the cube. So you'll see I'm learning about the solar system here. Sitting in my office, I'm moving the cube around. I can interact with that. I can get information on the planets. It's really neat. The cubes themselves go anywhere from $5 to $25. And then really, again, it's smartphone powered. Invest in an iPad for the library, it can do those things, or you can do BYOD. Similarly, that's a Merge headset. Those are headsets that are, again, around $30, $35, but they require that smartphone to slot into them. But those are options. And you have really neat, just like experiences, augmented reality books or coloring pages here on the right. And that is what's called Quiver Vision. These are generally free coloring pages that like a child can color in. You can scan it with an app and the drawing comes to life. And in some cases, they can move it around. It's got like a joystick feature. So these are neat ways to expose people to a technology. Same thing now, AR-powered searches here. I can use Google in some cases when I'm searching, especially with animals, with things about biology, you have the option here to view something in 3D. So if I scan an anglerfish, I have the option to view it in 3D, and I can experience that. These are inexpensive ways to expose people to augmented reality. So artificial intelligence, you knew we were going to have to talk about it, right? This is the big, scary, exciting technology that's out there that everybody's talking about. First thing we have to do is kind of explore the library's relationship with AI. And the important stuff we can do right away is experiment with it on a personal basis, right? A professional basis. A lot of these tools are free to access, things like ChatGPT, Bing is, AR powered or AI powered search. Those things, explore them, see how they work, because ultimately we're going to be needing to provide community access. Informational classes on how these things work, how they might be used in a business setting, how these image generating tools work, and some of the problems with them. We need to study up so that we can provide accurate information to the community and that critical access we talked about. Next piece is media literacy training. This is complicating our information landscape. It's very easy to make a deep fake, an AI generated image, fake news to confuse people. So we need to study up on how to spot fakes so that we can teach other people these techniques. We're also seeing these technologies now moving into the library through our collections, through our services. There's library-specific chatbots that are being built now, and we're seeing collection integration. Well, let me show you what I mean by that. If you have a smartphone, oftentimes you have a virtual assistant, or if you have a smart speaker at home, things like Google Nest, Amazon Echo, and these are AI-powered devices. They're powered by machine learning. They learn from us, and they can integrate with our collections. And we're seeing increasingly our digital collections can be accessed by smart speakers, by virtual assistants. And this is a new landscape that we have to figure out. There was a time when if you wanted an ebook, I had to check to make sure that your e-reader was a compatible device. Well, now I have to check my collections to make sure that they're actually accessible by different virtual assistants, by different smart speakers. Give you an example of a virtual assistant working with Overdrive. Overdrive is our main ebook provider in public libraries in the United States.
Hey Google, talk to Libby.
Hi there, you can get a book recommendation or look for a book. What'll it be today?
Look for a book.
What book would you like to find?
Sophia of Silicon Valley.
Let's take a look. Do you mean Sophia of Silicon Valley by Anna Yen?
Yep.
You can borrow the ebook or audiobook or read its description. What would you like to do?
Borrow it, please.
The ebook and audiobook are both available to borrow. Which one would you like?
The ebook.
Done. The ebook, Sophia of...
So you get the sense. So these are ways where AI and these virtual assistants now are interacting with our collections, and that'll happen more and more. When we talk about media literacy, all of these images you see here are fake. This is a fake image meant to project that the moon landing was fake, right? And maybe we'll see some modern ones now that India recently landed, on the moon. But you can imagine there's folks out there that, believe all sorts of things, that the earth is flat, nobody ever landed on the moon. And AI can really generate these images to back those inaccuracies, back that fake news quite easily. Tends to take advantage of our passions, our political passions. And so there was a viral images of former president being arrested. Some of these aren't even like mean-spirited, they're not ill-intentioned, they're just silly, but they kind of take over the internet, like the Pope in a bubble jacket, fake image. So this is that complicated information landscape that's going to be a trend that we're going to have to navigate for our communities. I want to show you an example of where two technologies work together. So now you can see AI, artificial intelligence, working with augmented reality to break down language barriers.
My mother speaks Mandarin, and I speak English, which is a strange thing.
他讲英文我可以听得懂，可是有时候我讲不来嘛。
We'd love to be able to share with you a new prototype we've been working on. You should be seeing what I'm saying, just transcribed for you in real time, kind of like subtitles for the world.
What we're working on is technology that enables us to break down language barriers, taking years of research and Google Translate and bringing that to classes.
You see me? Oh, sí, sí te veo. I'm actually looking straight into your eyes, and it seems like you're looking right at me. Oh, sí, sí, estoy viendo lo que estás diciendo para ayudarte.
Making access to information just instant and intuitive. By doing that, technology fades into the background, and we're more connected with the people and the things around us. Giving people the gift of communicating.
So you can see there, public libraries is public service, and oftentimes language is a barrier. And you can imagine how technology that breaks down language barriers, that can do things like sign language even, how more fully we can serve our communities. Nice part is with all of the AI, I wouldn't call it hype because it's a consequential technology, but with all that interest in this, there's lots of free options where you can experiment, and then as you get more comfortable, you can teach the community. I've listed a few here, but with image generators, Canva is a great option for text to image. Story AI is a free option. Crayon is a free option. If you want to actually play with building an AI, Google has Teachable Machine that you can actually build and place an AI onto a device, onto a computer. It can do all sorts of things, and it's free. There are chatbot builders of various quality. You need to do a little searching, but you can find them, and they can be done free, although they're limited. But as a learning tool, that's great. And then, as you know, for text generators, chatbots, ChatGPT, free option, Google Bard or Microsoft Bing, that's AI-powered search. And these are tools that, again, you have the opportunity to experiment with. You need an internet connection and a device, and then we can teach those skills to others. So AI right now, the cost of entry isn't terribly high, at least from a dollar sense. You may be sacrificing some privacy with using these tools, though. Again, I'll be sharing out these slides. At the bottom of this slide, you'll see I left the Digital Librarian resource list. It's a bunch of AI stuff, how to, some free classes on some of these things you can take virtually, a virtual artificial intelligence kind of petting zoo where you can experiment with different tools. So that's a good thing to look at if you're interested. Obviously, I want to get to questions and answers. So I hope I've kind of sprinkled a bunch of different technologies and trends that I feel are impacting libraries. As always, you're going to measure your community's needs and interests and make those best decisions about where we invest. But hopefully I've given you some options for, affordable investments and things that can be done incrementally, as well as some options and some ideas of what's coming around the corner as well. Yeah, so at this point, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nick. Before we engage in questions for a very informative session, I would like to manage it this way, where I will call upon Dr. I'm also going to, because we've got a discussion and question answer, I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Molaudi Margaret Matubako, who has been involved in public libraries as a professional librarian for over 32 years. Her first appointment was as a library assistant in the Mangaung Public Library at the Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality in Bloemfontein in 1990. Dr. Matubako's management career began in 2000 when she was appointed branch librarian responsible for supervising managerial functions in the Mangaung Public Library. From 2008 to date, she was promoted to coordinator, which is the senior librarian, overseeing the management of the 5 branch libraries to ensure that different categories of users get access to information. Molaudi earned a doctoral degree in information science from the University of South Africa. She is an established literary scholar who contributed to some of the library and information journal publications. Dr. Matubago is one of the academics who are disseminating information and knowledge using media platforms such as local radio stations to develop marketing strategies to market education, libraries, and information services to the community. So earlier on, our emerging librarian winner, Nambita, has introduced Nick as our main speaker, and Nick has generously shared with us a mouthful of all the technology, what technology can do to our, what impact can technology have in our libraries. So without further ado, I'm going to call upon Dr. Matubago to engage us in the discussion and question time. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Mem Hadi, and thank you very much, Mr. Tanzi. Your speech is just indicating to me that I'm still in the infancy stage when it comes to technology. I don't know if we will ever, in our public libraries, be on the stage of whatever you have already mentioned or show us here. But before I can even open questions or discussion, me and my partner here, Ms. Nambita, we do have some questions that we want to start asking before I can even allow other people to do that. I'm interested in knowing, because now you have mentioned everything, but I want to know about the staff skills and digital competencies, because now you'll find that we will introduce this fancy tech or the emerging techs or best technologies, but you'll find that there is the resistance from the staff to embrace technology. So how do you deal with the staff skills and digital competencies?
Sure. So a couple of things, one of which is computer literacy. You know, I feel like everybody always asks, are you computer literate? But what that means has changed over time, right? It was a time it meant just using a computer, then the internet, then a mobile device. And now we're in the world of cloud computing, right? Where, you know, you have all this virtualization, virtual workspace, which is the next piece. And that's kind of where I begin is here we're a Google Workspace environment. So folks need to not only know how to use email, they need to know how to do video chat, use collaborative documents like Google Calendar and Google Docs. So that's our new computer literacy in terms of what I kind of have staff trained up on. A lot of the issues we tend to have with staff resistance is partially self-inflicted because we don't communicate well. And I'm saying we as administrators, okay? If I want staff to be tech savvy, I need to provide training, right? And I need to give them the time and opportunity and not have it be a distraction from what they're already doing. That's part of the trick. Part of the communication strategy is also, remember earlier I talked about when you adopt a technology, it has to have a purpose, it has to align with your mission. And when you can't communicate a good reason why you're doing something, staff tend to be resistant. Finally, I like an incremental approach. I like to start small because folks who maybe are resistant, if you get overly ambitious and you kind of messed something up, you spend a lot of money on a piece of equipment and then it doesn't work out, you've empowered your detractors because now they can point and say, oh, see, I told you this was a bad idea. If you start small, it's easy to move people along early on. And as you think of it as a game of momentum, as you experience success, you introduce a new technology that maybe you didn't spend a lot of money on, and it's community interest, you can build on that.
Okay, I'm taking notes. And then my last question before I give it to Ms. Nandipa. Implementing new technologies often requires significant investment in hardware, software, infrastructure, and everything. So how do you deal with cost and sustainability?
Yeah, so typically when I am thinking about adopting a new technology, remember, I look and see what can I organizationally afford, right? Where there's community interest, where I can at least get some return on investment. So if I buy a thing, I know there's use. And I need to plan a few steps ahead and decide, what can I do with this thing? If I buy an iPad, am I going to teach classes with it? Am I going to use it for different things? And make sure that that list of things I'm going to do gets me value. So I don't buy a thing and then figure out what I'm going to do with it. Think about things that you can use for multiple things. And again, I'm going back to that iPad. I can use that to take video. I can use that as a marketing tool. I can use that as a mobile device as I'm walking around assisting patrons. I can use it as an augmented reality tool. Those are things. So you want to, when you don't have funds, you have less room for mistakes. So you need to be very focused on what are you going to do with a thing, have a plan of attack would be my suggestion there. And when you start small and you have some successes, it's a little bit easier to get additional funds when you can demonstrate use, when your users are saying, hey, we want more of this. My libraries here, we're a tax-supported organization, so we always have to go back to the taxpayer. And it's an easier conversation to have when they're excited about something and they're asking us to get a thing, rather than being on the other end of it and explaining to them why we need to spend money.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't think we will ever be there, but we will try, like you mentioned, that we have to start small.
Well, and in truth, though, I'm just very quickly, the hot topic now is AI, and there's a lot of inexpensive options into that. So really, it's a matter of finding the time and opportunity to experiment safely and then teach your community. That's the big disruptive tech right now.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Tanzi. Ms. Nandipa?
Hi, Mr. Tanzi. In South Africa, we've got this resistance we are having in terms of age gap. There are old people who are still into traditional way of doing things. There's a generation of us who are into technology. How do you bridge that gap in terms of embracing technology?
So it is tough. And right now, we have the same thing with an age gap. We also have, coming out of the pandemic, two very different user types. We have the folks who like virtual, just want to check out an ebook, don't want to come to the building. And then we have folks who want to come in and they want to talk to us and they want that in-person service. So that's always going to be a tricky balancing act. I think, again, it ends up being a communication challenge. People need to see how technology can maybe do something for them, how it can make things easier, improve their life. If it can't, then they have a good argument there, right? You can't necessarily force technological change. But I see when technology is working well, it makes things easier and more convenient. So I would always focus on the convenience aspect. If you can demonstrate that, it becomes a bit easier for folks to accept that type of change.
You have any other question?
Yes, one more question. In terms of our society, they've got a blog. Once you talk about technology or digital literacy, how can we do, or what's the best way to execute the training without giving them fear? Because once they hear term technology, they get lost. So how can we convince them that technology is here, it just need us to embrace effectively?
Yeah, so now are we talking about staff or members of the public in this case?
Both staff and members of the community.
Okay. Yeah, so what I found is when I'm working with staff, you need to build the confidence by, sometimes we have folks who are scared to make a mistake, and you have to build an environment of acceptance where it's okay to make mistakes. When you remove that fear, because everybody's scared of hitting the wrong button or doing the wrong thing, it makes it easier to teach because you remove that environment of fear. If you're able to get folks comfortable with that, I found particularly when I work with, older individuals who maybe are resistant to tech, they do very well when they're working with their peers. When my trainers are older as well, they see them, sometimes they get a little resistant when they see like the young kid who's going to teach them a thing. But when they see somebody that looks like them, that's around their age, they become more confident and more comfortable with that, with those folks. So it kind of change starts at the library, building an environment of acceptance where people are okay to make mistakes and okay to admit they don't know a thing. It's not held against them. And then when you get some staff that's representative of your community, and that includes older folks, they can help be a better ambassador for teaching technology to folks. Yeah, so.
In your books, you've got emphasis of training, of staff training, lack of awareness. How do you execute the training without resistance from the staff to embrace what you are training on in terms of technology?
Yeah, and listen, staff resistance is always going to be there. I don't want to paint a picture where like I do not work in a utopia, right? Part of it is a holistic approach. I always like to, myself, before I buy a piece of technology, think long and hard about what its place is in the library and have a potential plan of attack for it, how I'm going to use it. I make sure I've written clear policy as I adopt it, because folks don't always know how it all works and how it's going to be. And then my initial trainers are often people who are just excited about it, because the best teachers I've ever had are people who are excited about the subject matter. If you have a history teacher that hates history, that's not going to be a fun class to take. So I get those folks who are excited to really embrace the technology and be my lead trainers. That's typically my approach. Then to make it quicker and more effective, I'm a big fan of, well, two things: compartmentalizing training, where folks learn about a technology, but the narrow use that they may use it for. So if they're not going to do a certain thing with that technology, I'm not going to waste their time training them in a use case that they don't have. Additionally, I like to train the trainer. So once I've trained some people who are excited about the technology, they become additional trainers. That can also, aside from speeding up the process, that can allow them to individualize their help, because now I have enough trainers where somebody can just partner up with somebody. So that tends to be my approach. Go in with a plan. I'll create an environment of acceptance where people can make mistakes, have lots of training in different formats, make it personalized, individualized if necessary, and don't waste anybody's time on a training that they're not going to apply in their day-to-day.
You are right, Mr. Tanzi. Train the trainer is a very good idea, because now other people will realize that technology is not a monster. I also have another question here from Mr. Manda Maseko. Can the training be part of the accredited curriculum as part of the incentive for staff who are resistant to change? And what are the possibilities of incorporating AI as part of the broader?
Yeah, so basically that's going to vary from organization to organization, right? What's accepted or not in terms of accreditation. I think that's helpful. Again, you don't want to waste people's time. So if here in the United States, for at least in New York, because it even varies state to state, there's a continuing education requirement for new librarians. They have to do a certain number of hours every year. So anytime you can make training that's necessary anyways, but have it, check off two boxes, both get your staff competencies where you want them to be, but also fulfill their continuing education requirements is a great thing. And that's something you're going to want to focus on. Yes, I think AI is going to be a part of that. That's going to be the big, disruptive technology. This is like when the internet came out in the 90s. This is the next big disruptive technology we all have to really learn and focus on. So yes, AI is going to be a part of it.
I don't know if Mr. Mandla. Okay, you can go on, Mr. Tanzi.
Oh, no, I maybe jump into the next question too, but I saw there was how safe is it to use ChatGPT to meet the information queries for users? Yeah. So my suggestion with ChatGPT is to use it as a tool, not as a source. I don't like, because AI can hallucinate, it can make stuff up. I don't ask it anything I don't know. I use it as a productivity tool. When I'm brainstorming something on a topic I'm comfortable with, then it's great. Bing, their AI-powered search, Google Bard, you can use those tools as just as a fancier search tool, but you're still going to have to verify the information. The other piece of that is when you're doing queries, you have to consider the patron privacy, because when I work with patrons, when I answer reference questions, that information is actually constitutionally protected in the state of New York. I can't disclose the nature of their visit, what they're checking out, the questions they've asked. And AI, many of these tools have a habit of collecting that information, and that's problematic. So you have to look at the terms of use on these tools.
Thank you very much. From our online participant, is there anyone who maybe would like to ask Mr. Tanzi any question? You have also mentioned something now, because I also curious to know about the privacy and security when it comes to these emerging technologies, because you'll find that we don't even know the policy that are related to these technologies. Maybe you can highlight some of your knowledge.
So basically, whenever I'm adopting a new technology, right, policy has to be there. And when I'm writing policy, the two things I always start with is I look at my own, like the legal landscape. What does the state law say? What does the federal law say? What are the local regulations? And I don't do anything that contravenes that, right? I'm not here to break the law. The other piece is the terms of service or the manufacturer's guidelines I have to look at. So if I'm taking a VR headset and it says it's only appropriate for age 13 and up, I can't be lending it out to children. If the terms of service say that software can't be lent out, or just the terms of service say it does things with the collection of data that doesn't match the library's ethics, that's a spot where you stop. So it does require a bit of reading, right? You have to kind of check the law, you have to check the manufacturer's guidelines and the terms of service as you determine what's appropriate or not.
I'm going to take only these two questions. I can see there is one hand from Gwala and Mohadi. So I'll start with Gwala. You can ask Mr. Standi your question, or maybe you can just want elaboration of something.
Okay, can you hear me, Mr. Tanzi?
I can, thank you.
Okay, just a side note, Tanzi is actually a Zulu surname. So it's quite familiar to just say Tanzi.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really and I liked the virtual tour of the library idea. I work for a reference library in South Africa and under a museum. So I think we are quite far behind as far as technology is concerned. And with reliance on like a government grant, it becomes less and less because the majority of the grant will have to go into operational matters and, stuff, things like that. So your library and facilities become like the least probably of your priorities. But it just gave me, your presentation gave me an idea that, It's about looking at what the community needs and then trying to be at the center of, the assisting, providing that access. So definitely liked it. I like the VR and mental health idea. So I was like, okay, so if most of our community is actually job hunting, like the minute you put anything that comes to assisting them with interview preparations and workshops like that, then you're at the center of drawing them in and providing them that access. So I just wanted to comment on that and probably look at our situation and how we could assist.
Okay, yeah, thank you for those comments, because honestly, what is innovation? Innovation is creative ways of meeting your community's needs when oftentimes there's financial restraints on all of us, right? So that's innovation, is how you deliver what your community needs with a limited budget.
Thank you very much, Mekwala. Mem Khadi.
Thank you, Doc. Unbelievable. We're talking about technology here, and it kicked me out. So I had to, I had to connect again using my phone, and yeah. But nonetheless, I hope I did not miss out. I want to find out from Nick. Thank you very much for this informative workshop. You talked about technology in broader sense. And I'm checking in terms of the people with disabilities. Are we inclusive? Are we inclusive enough in terms of inclusivity, and also those assistive devices? You indicated a whole lot of virtual reality and augment. So are we inclusive enough in terms of the people with disabilities? Thank you.
No, thank you. And the short answer is we all can do much better. And that needs to be something that you consider as you adopt technology. Is it available for everybody, right? What excites me about some of these technologies is that they have the opportunity to be more inclusive. AI in particular is doing amazing things now with folks who have speech impediments, who can't see. And so that has the opportunity. Things like AI narration now, audiobooks are a super accessible option for many people. Not every book gets made into an audiobook, but with AI narration, you have the opportunity to vastly improve access to information. When you are investing in a technology, say you're getting a new VR headset or something, you're going to want to look at adaptive options. What are your options as part of the spec sheet for this technology? That has to factor in. And so I appreciate you bringing that up because you need to continuously advocate. So as you go through the feature list on a technology, that has to be one of those boxes you look at and say, hey, how is it accessible, or am I leaving some folks behind in my adoption of a technology?
Thank you, Mr. Tanzi. Are you fine, Mem Khadi?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Mem Khadi and Mr. Tanzi. I'm handing over to you, Mem Khadi.
Thank you, Doc, for having spearheaded this question and discussion very well. And I hope everyone else have managed to get a chance to ask or to comment where needed. I'm moving on, and I'm watching the time, but we're still fine. Allow me to introduce to you the next speaker, who is from Nevada LMS. And just briefly about Nevada LMS. It's a multi-vendor audit trail acquisition system, which allows you to seamlessly procure all titles, along with various advanced features, including budgets, reports, and alerts. This platform is maintained by a highly qualified IT and support team. They prioritize the feedback that they receive to excel in providing the best possible service by keeping the needs of all counterpart libraries in mind and mutatis mutandis. Within the library landscape, this platform is a value-added product to 8 universities across South Africa and 1 international university in UAE. They are currently expanding to deliver this platform as a solution to our South African government libraries. I will request or allow Lola Diantina from Nevada LMS as a representative to take us through. Thank you, and over to you, Lola.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and Mr. Nick, for your wonderful and insightful presentation. It really was so informative and eye-opening, so I thank you for that. May I just proceed to share my screen, please?
Sure, I'm going to stop my share. And actually,
yes,
I need to sign
definitely.
out now. Okay, right, we're good here.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you all.
Go well.
Bye.
All right, so I'm just quickly jumping on my screen share here, just a few moments. Great, so I hope you don't mind. I'm just putting my video off just to ensure that my connectivity doesn't fail. But all right, I just want to thank you all and welcome you to today's presentation on the best technologies for public libraries. So this is where we are embracing innovation in the library services, and this is brought to you today by Nevada LMS. In this session, we will be exploring the cutting-edge technologies that are revolutionizing the landscape for public libraries, empowering them to provide enhanced and dynamic services to their communities. Nevada LMS is a proudly South African platform that was re-engineered in 2020 in response to feedback from librarians at diverse institutions. The revamped Nevada 2.0 launch took place at LIASA last year. Our aim is to, Our aim is to help libraries acquire all titles in Nevada LMS through a customizable multi-vendor audit trail acquisition system. The platform offers tailored modules and solutions to meet the unique structures and workflows of different libraries and institutions. We provide infrastructure to support both academic and public libraries' workflows. Within this, the following modules are available. Nevada Discovery, which is the core and search engine of the platform. We also have Acquisitions module, which streamlines book order requests from librarians to suppliers. The Online Exhibitions module allows vendors to showcase collections, offering potential discounts to the library. Both parties can benefit with flexible activation periods. And then the vendor management solution involves inviting preferred vendors to the Nevada platform, making their stock feeds accessible. The Copyright module simplifies the copyright applications, reducing time and expenses. Then lastly, we have the Prescribed Textbook module, which helps in creating upcoming semesters list for faculties and students. The Prescribed Textbook module is an academic solution for academic libraries or universities. So let's start with Nevada Discovery, the heartbeat of the platform. This is where selected librarians will start to source titles from the growing metadata base, which consists of 60 million unique titles, over 17,000 journals, 7 million articles, and 3.5 million ebook resources. There are many innovative facets that can be utilized. This includes 45 unique facets to curate your searches and results, 23 various binding formats to select from. You can receive alerts on new publications for selected subjects and categories, and as well find titles to add to various lists and customize them with ease. Within all of this, you work on a well-developed information source. Here we have a bit of a sneak peek into seeing the layout of the platform. As you see, it is very user-friendly and intuitive to work with. There are also many help icons throughout the system, just to make it possible for each user to understand how to work with it. Next, we see some special facet searching examples created for public libraries. This consists of most languages, including all 11 official South African languages, catering for our African audience and communities. Before moving on to understanding the rest of the modules, it is important to take note of the 3 team-based driven profiles found on Nevada. Firstly, we have the client profile. This would be used by selected librarians and catalogers, which are responsible for sourcing titles on Discovery, taking them and adding them to lists, and then going forth with sending the request of titles to the central or the local library lists. Then the manager profile comes in that actually has the approval functionality. They procure requests received from these selectors, and they have special access to the admin area. Lastly, we have the administrator profile. These users have insights to manage the library. They can onboard various libraries and users. They can customize details such as allocations for areas of responsibilities, roles, claims, and permissions. They utilize various reports and statistics, as well as manage funds with budgets. Let's proceed to understanding the acquisitions module and workflow. The process involves a selector librarian using Nevada Discovery to search for a title and adding it to a personalized list. The title can be added to the acquisitions office by completing a request form, and the acquisitions manager reviews by either approving or denying the request. If it is approved, the title is then added to the library central list via an API, and the request is subsequently forwarded to the vendor for ordering. Here we see an example of the selector's personalized list. So these users can discover titles of interest and seamlessly submit a request to add the titles both to the central and the local library lists. Here the selectors will have to complete the request form to send the titles for approval. Within this form, they allocate quantities and fund codes according to a specific budget. This process assists with generating accurate budget reports once the titles have been approved. Next, the request is pushed through for approval, which usually is actioned by the managers and administrators. They have exclusive access to this displayed menu dashboard, where they can either view, create, and manage active lists, as well as view and procure all the titles that have been requested for each library and list. And they can also access the amended information on the libraries that are listed. Audit trail reporting is a key feature that captures all system information for forensic auditing. This is achieved through interactive reporting and is essential for audit trail reports. With a simple push of a button, you can generate an audit trail report for an entire financial year catering to your auditor's needs. Additionally, you can create ad hoc reports regarding fund allocations and availability. Transparent reporting is essential, allowing you to monitor budget expenditures effectively and accessing spending details whenever necessary. Here we see some examples of those interactive reports and business statistics. You can use these to have insights into your management and efficiency to actually grow and promote your library's growth. Next, we have the online exhibitions module. It is important to note that this module can only be accessed via the acquisitions module. The online exhibitions module is a tool that allows library administrators to collaborate with PBook and eBook vendors for special offers aimed at libraries during specific periods. The platform enables vendors to upload curated catalogs with negotiated discounts. So there's 3 ways in which the vendor can actually have their catalogs available. So we have closed collections, open collections, and pick and mix collections. Closed collections offer bundled ISBN packages. Open collections permit the selection of individual titles, while pick and mix collection offers a cost-effective hybrid option of the two. The module enhances vendor-library interaction for effective and efficient catalog management and ordering. The vendor collaboration process involves several steps, starting with acquisitions providing vendors with an Excel template for catalog details. Catalogs are then verified for format and pricing before being uploaded to Nevada. The acquisition selectors create curated lists from these verified catalogs available for set periods. During an open exhibition period, selectors pick titles from these lists. The acquisitions approves orders using APIs that connect with the central library management system, followed by thorough checks for budget alignment, deduplication, and accurate pricing. Approved orders are transmitted to vendors with ISBNs linked to metadata, and Nevada LMS assigns SKUs to collections while integrating ISBNs into the catalog. This comprehensive approach ensures a seamless and accurate catalog acquisitions process. Online exhibition effectively invites vendors to upload specific catalogs with negotiated prices. It boosts vendor sales through a concentrated marketing strategy during a specific period. The detailed evaluation helps selectors make informed decisions and procure products at better prices. It seamlessly connects the libraries and end users, allowing book selections from your desk and eliminates costs associated with the physical handling of books and transportation. It really is the best logistics solution at the end of the day, as it also reduces a ton of administrative burdens. Next, for the vendor management solution. This is where libraries can have the opportunity to invite their preferred vendors onto the platform. The vendors would have their own user interface in Nevada LMS, where they can upload their stock levels and special prices. Here, it is important to note that you will have to have prior agreements set in place with your vendors. Some of the benefits that you can find with the vendor management solution in Nevada LMS is that you work on one platform. You can select titles from the best pricing options to save costs. You can easily communicate with your vendors. Your vendors, of course, with ease set up their stock feed uploads via a provided template, and the vendor as well receives support. Nevada also ensures here that there is efficient workflow in the process, and each time that the vendor does an upload, we verify the information to make sure that everything is displayed in the correct format. Moving over to the copyright module. In South Africa, DALRO grants copyright users permission to use protected works while ensuring remuneration for copyright holders. They offer two types of licenses. We have the blanket license and the transactional license. A blanket license allows users to use works in DALRO's repertoire without individual applications, making it less administratively intense. And this solution would suit institutions with frequent reproduction needs. On the other hand, a transactional license permits the use of works on a per-work basis, excluding the entire repertoire of a CMO. So while a blanket license can be costly under its pricing model, Nevada facilitates the library's use of the transactional license, which reduces the administrative work and costs. This module allows copyright selectors to send requests to the copyright officer, and in the request, the selector will indicate the number of users, page numbers to be copied, and the type of reproduction that is required. The copyright process is as follows. Firstly, the selector applies for copyright. The copyright officer then prepares and forwards applications to DALRO. There is a backend script packaging applications into emails that is sent to DALRO, and then there's another backend script that is actually handling the incoming emails from DALRO. The copyright officer then links those quotations received from DALRO back to the applications, and then those process applications of approval is sent back to the selector in an official document, and they can then proceed to reproduce the work. In conclusion, Nevada LMS stands as a robust library management system that presents a multitude of tailored solutions for public libraries, adaptable to their unique structures and workflows. Our commitment to development remains steadfast as we strive to stay at the forefront of technological advancements. We are actively engaged in the creation of a circulation and cataloging solution, alongside a seamless financial integration process as well. As we progress, these modules will form as a complete ILS, an integrated library system, making a pivotal stage in our evolution, here to serve your evolving library needs as well. So I thank you all. And if you'd wish to learn more and understand more about Nevada LMS, we invite you to contact us and we can book a meeting where we can have a scheduled discussion to explore more of these possibilities of growth. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lola, for a very intuitive message from Nevada LMS, the best technologies in public libraries that serves the multitude of services to everyone. So we really appreciate. And I'm not sure if there are burning questions to Lola. Otherwise, we are almost getting to our end of time for this webinar. I would also like to call upon Frida van Wyk, the Nevada LMS CEO Commercial, to thank everyone and to also close this session. Before I call upon Frida, I would like to thank you so much for your attention, for your participation. This has been a very, very interesting afternoon with lots of information that we have learned a lot about technologies. So, Frida, over to you. And thank you, Lola, once more.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to put on my camera because of streaming problems. I just want to thank everyone for attending the seminar on the best technologies for public libraries and embracing innovation in library services. I would like to thank all our speakers for sharing your valuable insights and feedback. Lastly, I would like to thank Nabita for her dedication to the emerging librarian title. We appreciate your contributions and hope that you find this seminar to be a valuable learning experience. Your support means a lot to us. Let us all embrace technology to enhance this industry's future leaders. Please support our channels for future seminars and insights. Our username on Facebook and YouTube is @emerginglibrarian_SA. I thank you again for everybody that has attended this meeting, and I hope we will see you in future very shortly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the webinar is closed. And have a good afternoon. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending.